we have the subwoofers, and these are pretty much all high output with the exception of the P10SI. That's a single 10-inch. It's used in the P610, but it's also primarily outside that. It's used as a balancing sub. And what that does is in the hands of a really knowledgeable calibrator, it can be used to tune the room nodes to cancel out the peaks and nulls that take place in a room. It's not something that's added to the system to increase the bass output. So it's a very specialized product. The rest of the subs are conventional approach. We have a single P15A, which has a 350 watt amplifier. And then we get into the larger subs where we're all multiples. So the P15 is a dual 15 that comes in two versions. There is an amplified version, although we recommend the outboard amplifier, one of our outboard amplifiers, because you get more dynamics that way. Then we have a dual P18. Both the P15 and the P18 are very shallow in depth. They're about 11 inches and about 10 inches in the P15 and a little over 14 inches for the P18. So they are not in the typical kind of cube design that can be difficult to place in a theater. In fact, pretty much all of the Procella speakers are designed to be shallow. So they're not as obtrusive when they're mounted on a wall, and they're easier to conceal in a theater where you might put a fabric wall up to conceal the loudspeakers and the room treatments.
How's the low frequency response if you were just for like late night listening? If you didn't want to turn the subs on, what kind of bass would you get from them? Since the cabinets, the enclosures are so shallow, you typically wouldn't think of a really thin speaker as having a lot of like bass or
yeah, that's a good point. They're designed to go to 80 hertz, so they do make 80 hertz, but these are designed for wall placement. These are not speakers that you would put out on stands in the middle of the room. Right. They're theater designed, so that helps with the tuning. We don't have to worry about trying to compensate for the fact that there's no reinforcement by placing it on the wall. So that helps, and there's reasonable bass. It's certainly very well defined. It's going to be very clear, but obviously you're not going to get the impact that you get with having the subwoofer kicked in.
Yeah, right.
The two giant subs we have, the V18 and the V21, are the opposite approach. They're much deeper, and the idea there is to have a maximum output in rooms where a deeper sub can be accommodated. And you'll see that the drivers are not mounted flush on the front baffle. They're actually mounted in a V shape, which provides a little bit of horn loading of a sort. I wouldn't technically say that's accurate, but it does increase the efficiency a little bit and increases the output. So we've adopted that. It's also, if you look in the upper right on the P860, we were adopting that for the woofers on the big full range speaker.
They are those larger ones, the 18, they're dual 18s and dual 21s.
Yes.
Just in case you didn't specify that or not.
No, exactly. Thank you.
Are those, how big are those enclosures? Are those really deep or are they still pretty shallow?
They're less than 3 feet deep. They're, I think, about 28, 30 inches deep.
What do those reach down to? What could you expect if you were to go to like dual 21s or quad 21s?
Well, they're going to. Yeah, you probably can get them. I haven't really done testing to see how low we can get them with the right kind of EQ. They're pretty much going to be flat down to below 18 hertz. And with a little, because the drivers are massive, that can probably be tuned lower. But that's going to be a matter of the equipment that you're using, whatever you're using for tuning the system and doing PEQs and that sort of thing. And
those are outboard amplifiers, correct?
Yes, we have two basic platforms. In full disclosure, one is a lab grouping platform, and the other one is a PowerSoft. These are made for us, and we provide custom DSP to match the loudspeakers. So they're not a necessity, although for the bi-amplified speakers and the subwoofers, you do need DSP and you do need a crossover for the full range speakers.
Right,
So
right, right.
that's generally where they're used in the more expensive systems. If you go to the